990 WBOB.com COVIDCast number 6. I had to check. I had Mike check because I don't even know what day it is. And
Yeah, you
Mike
can't
didn't know
count
what day
past
it is.
3. It's fine.
That too. But Mike didn't even know what day it is because he almost forgot we were recording today. But that's okay. I'm Joe Ferro, your host. My co-host, Mike Sandoval, and our special guest, Rebecca Rush. Rebecca, how you doing?
I am better than I should be. How are you?
Hanging in there, getting a little bored, but keeping myself busy with projects like this and things of that nature. And I basically watched everything in my Netflix queue and everything that I didn't even want to watch in my Netflix queue and among every other streaming service. So now I'm kind of getting outside more and doing that, which I probably should have been doing a long time ago, but I'm lazy. So. Plus, it's just started kind of getting nice here in New England, so we finally have that. It's been a beautiful day probably this week. This week's been real nice. How's it out there in LA?
I mean, it's perfect. We have every ecosystem that exists. So nature is not canceled. They finally opened the trails, but even before they opened the beaches, I went to see the bioluminescence. There was a cop and he was herding people off, but you got a good 10 minutes before you got back to your side of the beach. I would drive up to Malibu and just there'd be people. Yeah, you can't go on the beach, but you can park on the side of the road and stare at the waves.
Oh, that's cool. We're actually just finally opening our first 2 beaches here in Rhode Island, starting Sunday, I believe, which I think is going to be a shit show because it's just if you're going to open in 2, why not just open all of them so that everybody's just not crowded into 2 beaches? So, but.
Yeah, and even with that as well, they're saying they're not going to have anything else open. It's just the beach. There's not going to be any concessions. There's not going to be any lifeguards. So I feel like at that point, no bathrooms. So it's you're just going to go there. Then I don't know. It's kind of weird the way they're doing it. I understand why they're opening them because they're we kind of want people to kind of shut up and just all right, go. We'll let you go and see what happens at this point. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen in the future with that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's good to kind of get back to some kind of normality. I do like a lot of this Zoom stuff though, because you do get to see people. Rebecca, I don't think I've seen you it's funny because it came up. You were a guest on the cafe in 2012. Yesterday, it came up in my Facebook memories, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's super coincidence."
Yeah, I remember that, and you guys were like, how long have you been doing comedy? And I was so proud. And I was 9 months. And I thought it was the longest. I've taken longer breaks than that since then.
But you're still doing a ton of stuff. Even with this lockdown, you're still doing a ton of stuff. Doing the Invulnerability show, comedy show via Zoom.
It's so much fun over Zoom because it's a concept show. So I have all the comics say something that makes them feel really vulnerable. And the definition of vulnerability is something that you feel people are going to attack you for. And it means so many different things. I had a comic talk about his suicide, but made it funny somehow when I had never talked about it before. I guess you can't really talk about your suicide, but the attempts.
Yeah.
And then I would have audience members write down their things and I roast them. Which is great because when you're running a show, I never have to if I had some new material, cool, but you don't want to repeat yourself on your own show.
I repeat myself on my own show all the time, but I'm not a comic though.
I think on the first year of my podcast, I mentioned that I had been married before, almost every episode, but I finally got over that. You just kind of, you learn. But now I'm having people send me private messages in the chat and I feel the audience members are being more vulnerable. I've lived in 5 different states and I work the road a lot. So I'm having some of the people that showed up at my show in LA, I would know, but some of them I wouldn't. And I pretty much know everyone from a different time, different place in my life, people that have moved. So it's nice. I'll get between 18 and 40 people per show. And then the comics are doing really cool stuff. Oh, that's my author profile on the Fix. The comics I had a comic that read her 7th grade diary, which included a bucket list. And the bucket list was go to the Louvre, go underneath the Louvre, and find the Holy Grail. You could tell she had just been watching Indiana Jones when she wrote her 12-year-old bucket list. It was just amazing.
Oh, what's that Dan Brown book? Because that's sounds almost verbatim. It was a Dan Brown book, Angels and Demons or something like that. Tom Hanks was in it when they did it in the movie. That sounds very similar. But you're also doing a podcast, and I actually listened to the last one last night. It was last night. Like I said, days are gone for me. But you actually had one of the animators from The Simpsons on.
I did. Yeah, that was cool. Like,
cool shit.
I've never had a podcast with two guests, but it was weird because I totally I felt like I lost control of that episode where like they were like taking the reins and asking me questions. And it was almost like I was just there to kind of witness two old friends from college who hadn't talked in a while.
Honestly, it was entertaining. It entertained me, and it went by like that. It was good. It was a great episode.
You know? But it was sometimes fun. I actually had my favorite author on Earth on. I haven't dropped the episode yet, but I wouldn't even thought of like people would say like, oh, you could do that podcast on Skype or whatever. And I'd be like, no, I don't do that. I do it in person. And I think I was just afraid I wouldn't be able to figure out how to press the record button. You know, they make everything so easy, but I'm like, oh, I'm afraid of that. I don't know how. But yeah, so Ashley Wurzbacher, I read her book. I picked it up at Book Soup in Hollywood. And I just kind of like, I guess I've gotten to like more of like a less attached kind of with the world so uncertain, like in order to keep my mental health, I'm just kind of like, I don't really care. I don't know. And I guess being sober for like 17 months and working a program of recovery, like I just don't care about being rejected like anymore. Like I got a rejection for my book yesterday and I was like, oh, fuck you. Like a couple months ago, I'm like, oh, I'm like, what a cunty letter. Should I read this letter? It's like, I would never want to work with somebody that would like write something. So she was like, oh, it just didn't pull me in as much as I wanted it to. So I should probably bow out. Like that's the most passive, grow a set, Andrea. Yeah. You know, like I don't want you to represent my book. I'm glad you didn't.
Get out of here. Yeah.
But I think a year ago, I would have crumbled. I would have like thrown the whole thing out. I would have deleted it off every place I've saved it. And so yeah, I just emailed Ashley and she was like, oh my God, yeah, like she had just gotten a book tour canceled. This is her first book. It just came out. And so I had like, I'm doing a new segment where if it's an author, I have them read a passage. And that's just so rad because I felt like I got this little opportunity to give her just like a glimpse of like something she had lost back.
Yeah, a little glimpse of normalcy in this crazy time.
Yeah. I'm writing 2 articles a month for Work at Health. I just interviewed with a company to like do addiction workshops with them next month. And then they like sent me to their partner and I interviewed to like do a blog and it's like for a pharmaceutical company. So I'm like, but then like I've done so much worse things for money, you know? But I'm like, really, is like that the place where you're gonna, but it's fun. I'm actually in talks with these guys on the East Coast, AC Jokes, and they're doing drive-in comedy. Somebody else reached out to me about that. They were like kind of a shady person. And I was like, I talked to a friend back in New York. They're like, everybody hates that guy. And I'm like, I can tell because the comics that will work with him are terrible. And you know, that's like, that really says something. It really does. And he's like a total tinfoil hat guy.
Yeah. We got a few of those around the station too.
But like honestly, there was like a minute where I would believe a conspiracy theory for like a half a day. And then I would feel ashamed. Because some of those videos are just so well made. And I'm like, oh my God, Disney's out to get me. Like
they make you question everything. You're like, wait, is that true? Or like, this seems so well. That's actually a lot of, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know anymore.
Well, some of it's like you want to believe it. I don't want to believe that this is real. You know, if you're telling me like, oh, the government's actually, all these earthquakes or people blowing up underground tunnels where kids are, and that's why they need the ventilators, and Central Park is really, that's to bring the kids up from underground. Like, I like that story better than like people are dying left and right. And like,
yeah, I mean, that was a crazy one. I haven't heard that one before. I hate the whole 5G caused this thing.
Oh, God.
That one gets me fired up.
Attention to.
Oh, you don't need to.
In LA, we can get free Rona tests. And I also don't like the narrative on the other end where they're like, you could be an asymptomatic carrier. I don't really think that's so much a thing. Like,
yeah. Well, the CDC.
It's a droplet transition thing. We don't do that with the flu or like any other virus. We're not like, you could be an asymptomatic carrier of 8. Like, it seems really insane. Maybe if there's like a few days where you don't have symptoms yet, or there's not that big of a window. So I did get tested, and I don't have the Rona. And thankfully, because I've done so much cocaine, it was very easy for them to stick that.
It's went right in there.
Like my favorite nostril. And I was like, how did she know? And then I was like, maybe I could have a job swabbing people. I obviously knew what nostril to pick. You know, it did really hurt. There's like no cushion for the push-in left, but then it was like, maybe that nostril was just on that side of the car, you know, because like I also would smoke out that nostril on that side of the car, you know. Then I thought there's got to be a lot of phlebotomists out there who are like former heroin addicts, and they're like, what have I learned?
Yeah, boink. Yeah.
Like imagine that interview, and they're like, you know, where did you go to med school? And you're like, I have a lot of experience in the field.
If you know what I mean. Yeah.
I'm sure that's a thing. They just love needles.
Oh, that's hilarious. So when's the next?
I had anything on my nose, but I was like, I'm still sober.
When's the next vulnerability podcast? You said June, beginning of June, right?
The Zoom, yeah, it's June 2nd. I have some headliners I'm really excited about. You know, and I feel mildly guilty, but it's like, whatever, I'll take advantage of how unbusy people are. But I have Zach Powers, who's like had a Comedy Central half hour, I believe, on June 2nd. And then I have Guy Branum, who was also recently on my podcast, on June 16th. So that's exciting.
All right.
It really has been fun.
We definitely check that out. I was stuck on meetings, unfortunately, on Tuesday. That didn't end until way too late. And I was like, shit. I even went back into the Zoom thing. I was like, maybe it's still going. And I'm like, damn. But then I showed up 2 days early.
You did show us. You know what? Somebody showed up 1 day early, too. I also changed the time from 7 p.m. Pacific to 6 p.m. Pacific. And then it's confusing, too, with the fact that I'm not on the East Coast, and a lot of people coming to the show are on the East Coast. That's why I moved it to 6, because I think 9 is a lot more doable for people than 10. And it's only about an hour. I think it's just so much easier to lose people on Zoom. Like, and I've gotten to a place where I'm like, I can't book anybody even for a 5-minute set that I don't think is really funny, because if one comic's not great and I made one mistake, I had one pity booking, and I'm like, never again. And then they're like, next time I'm on the show, and I'm like, oh no.
I'll be in touch. Yeah, I'll be in touch. Yeah.
Next time. You know, they're gonna close it. They're not gonna come back. If you're at a show, you've paid, you've driven there, you've committed to this night.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna be like, oh, I don't like this comic. I'm gonna go smoke. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna go order a drink. Like, and you're gonna come back. But if you even mildly don't like a comic and you leave a Zoom show, you're going to be like on Amazon buying shit you don't need, and you're going to forget you were ever even there.
That's very true. That's very true. I never thought of it that way, but that's you know, that's if you go to a comedy club, you're already committed to that night. You know, you're on that date, or you're with your boys, whatever the case may be. You're committed to that night. Like, maybe the next comic will be better. But in this age of attention spans, very, very lacking attention spans, you got to kind of hook people. Otherwise, it's very easy to just go boop.
Yeah, if anything, I feel like also when it comes to like comedy clubs, it's a lot more personal anyways. So it's kind of like when you're there, I feel like the comics always know everybody in the room, or they always like notice everybody in the room at one point. So if you leave and then don't come back, or if you leave after a while and come back, I feel like some people might be embarrassed that way. They're like, I kind of don't want to like be that guy and leave, and people will notice that I left. At least on a Zoom call, you could just immediately leave. No one's going to know you were even there. So.
I feel that way. Like, I don't even when I've been to comedy, and like we used to do, you know, Mondays on Blast and stuff like that. And that was kind of a different thing that you did with us a bunch of times. I think you even did, you did our 5-year anniversary, Rebecca, I believe. Different because it's like, we got bands and like people are making noise and talking, and it's a little weird. And I always wanted to slap people, like, shut up and listen. Like, you know, and it's like when I've been to like the Comedy Connection or wherever, like I'm scared. I don't even want to get up and go to the bathroom because I don't want to interrupt somebody's set or anything. Like, that's just me just being a fan of comedy. Like, you know, if somebody's talking at a table, I always want to slap them in the mouth and be like, just shut up and listen. Like, have some respect, you know? But yeah, I guess on Zoom, I could just go. and I'm gone.
Sometimes people don't realize their mic is on and they'll be like, oh, that guy looks familiar. And they just like start talking about the other. I try to keep it as close to live comedy as possible. Like I did a show where they like these shows where they're live streaming and it's only the comics in the Zoom room. I feel like a fucking hostage. Like I can't leave the room. And then I feel like there's less of a connection to. I did the show and they're like, it's called Make It Rain. They kept putting your Venmo up and we were supposed to dance at the end. Like I took my shirt off and hula hooped. I made $5. I was expecting a lot more, but people are watching it on a live stream. They're not in the room with you. I have everybody in the room. They're told that if they can manage their background noise to unmute themselves and laugh, about half of them do. Almost all of them have their video cameras on. I do not stream it. I do not record it. I don't think that a live show should live somewhere. It's fucking weird.
Yeah.
And also, like, no, if you, and can I watch it recorded? No, fuck you. You can set an alarm. Oh, I live in Australia. Well, what else are you doing? Wake up at 2 a.m., come to the show, and then, go back to bed. I don't know.
Go back to sleep.
Live your life, or else you don't get to see the show. But it's way more fun that way. And I think the concept really lends itself because it draws people in and they're like waiting for like, what am I going to say? Or what is the comic going to say about their vulnerability? And then now I'm like, I used to just hand them to the comics, but now I'm reading them and I'm being like, oh, this person's a vegan. This person's talking about making a rack of ribs and pissing off their vegan roommates. Like, I'm going to give that to a vegan and see how they can make that funny and while they're like a little offended. So yeah, and it's like, I feel like I would feel more to like do what you can to compensate for the lack of connection.
Yeah, I could dig it. I like the concept. So, definitely check out the Vulnerability Show. Check out Comics Book Club. When you have the next episode dropping, do you know yet?
The next episode actually was Seshi Ramos, who's a musician. It took me a while in podcasting, but I'm finally learning that it's way more fun to have to not just like be like, oh, I need to have comics on. No, like having musicians, writers, illustrators, it's so much more fun that way. Not that I won't have like a comic on that I enjoy, but like opening it up to artists of all kinds. And, I'd have a doctor on. They're not really an artist, maybe scientists too. We'll see where it goes. I don't know. People that do shit, right?
No, hey, have fun with it. If you need links, you need contacts, let me know. I'll hook you up. We do a little bit of everything here.
Okay.
But,
it will be Seshi Ramos on Ocean Vuong's book On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, which is set in Hartford, Connecticut. That's why he chose it.
Okay.
And it should be out Monday.
Nice. All right. So everybody go check that out.
So I recommend that episode because it's Doug fucking Stanhope last summer.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can't mess with Doug. Doug's awesome. I would love to party with Doug. I don't know if I could party with Doug. I think you'd hurt me. I'd be done. 15 minutes in, I'd be sleeping on a couch somewhere and that's it. But all right, Rebecca, thank you very much. Why don't you hit us off with the socials where everybody can find you, check out the shows and everything.
Yeah, Instagram and Twitter, I'm at Rebecca Rush 639. I'm Rebecca Rush on Facebook. You can search Virtual Vulnerability Show on Facebook. And then my Venmo is RR639, because why not?
Hit it up. I think Mike's got all the screen shares going too, so.
Yeah, it's right.
Oh, that's my new kitten. She makes quarantine way more fun.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure my cat's tired of me. But I made an Instagram page for my cat. I don't know. That's how bored I've been in this whole shit until I started doing this. But Rebecca, thank you very much. Everybody go check out Rebecca. You can see all the links right here on your screen. This has been COVIDCast number 6. Mike, I want to thank you. Rebecca, thank you again. You guys stay safe. Have fun. Do what you can during this. Put a smile on people's faces. That's what we're all here to do, right?
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Of course.
Anytime. Thank you.